Okay. Let us begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral, present, and future territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Today, we gather with the intent followed by the living peace and friendship treaties with respect, cooperation, and coexistence. We are all treaty people. I will call this meeting to order. It is June 3rd, 2025, and this is a public hearing. The purpose of this hearing is to receive verbal and written submissions regarding amending the town land use bylaw and municipal planning strategy to rezone all residential properties on Hawthorne Road, Mahone Bay, from residential general to residential unserviced. As part of the bylaw adoption process, council is required to have a public hearing to gather feedback from residents. This public hearing was advertised on the Town of Mahone Bay website and social media, and residents were given the opportunity to submit feedback in writing as well. The structure of the public hearing is as follows. Emily Statton, at the end of the table, planner, will give an overview of the topic of the public hearing as well as provide a public hearing report. Individuals present will be given the opportunity to provide feedback to council on the bylaw in question. The purpose of the public hearing is not discussion or justification, so council will not be responding to questions or engaging with those present during the public hearing. It's your time to speak, not ours. Please allow all those present an opportunity to speak before you speak again. Any person present wishing to speak must state their name and civic address for the public record. We ask that those present maintain respect for the bylaw adoption process, council, and fellow residents. People displaying unacceptable behavior will be asked to leave the public hearing and will not be permitted to return. And I just want to remind you, we are recording this process. So if you do not wish to be on camera, I don't know if you can opt out. No. So you either choose not to present or you are recorded. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Emily.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a little background on the request and go through the public hearing report that we have. So back in June of 2024, so almost a year ago, council received a report from staff regarding a rezone request from a property owner on Hawthorne Road. This request was to change the zoning for all of the residential properties on the road from the current residential general zone, and at the time this was to a newly created zone. That zone was to requesting to be to include 1 and 2 unit dwellings as of right, parks and playgrounds as of right, and then all other residential developments by development agreement. Further on, we'll see that that request has changed, and we'll speak about that. So council passed the motion to direct staff to work on that report and the related amendments. We held a public information meeting in September. We had a good turnout, some good discussions.
Yeah.
And then following that, we staff brought a report to the Planning Advisory Committee in March of this year. Following that meeting, we had a secondary meeting on the topic where the applicant spoke to the initial request and proposed a different path forward for the request. So he requested that council consider rezoning from the current residential general to the residential unserviced zone. Just to touch on those two zones, currently what's allowed in that zone, single 2-unit dwellings, triplexes. We're allowed multi-units up to 8 dwelling units as of right. Things like small option homes. We're allowed home-based businesses, group dwellings, 2-unit dwellings, stuff like that. The proposed zone will allow for single unit dwellings and 2-unit dwellings. We've got short-term rentals, mobile homes, mini homes, home-based business, all as of right. And then also to note things like forestry uses, conservation uses, government buildings, that sort of stuff as of right in the proposed zone. So at the time, the committee made a recommendation that council proceed with that and provided recommendation and passed the motion to rezone the areas on Hawthorne Road and amend both land use bylaw and municipal planning strategy. So then we brought it back to council. They made a motion. I have all the dates here. I don't think I need to go through all of them. I just sort of spoke to them. But I did want to note that it went to council on, when did we bring it here? In April, and I noticed we had to reword the motion, so we brought it back again just to make sure all details were included. And then we're here today at the public hearing. We have received one written submission for someone who is in full support of the request. They just weren't able to make it, so they submitted it written.
Thank you, Emily. So we are going to begin the process of taking remarks, comments from the public. And I don't know if you want to go on a list or if you just want to come up with the podium, state your name and your civic address. Who wants to go first? Nick?
Sure. So good evening, everyone. Nick Havlinek, 126 Hawthorne Road. So can't believe it's already been a year in this process, and I wanted to start by saying, thank you to everyone who was involved in this process throughout the past year. It's a lot of effort and time and attention from various people in the town in different capacities, to different councils. And I appreciate giving the forum to hear from residents about some of the concerns that we had. So this rezoning application was submitted last year on behalf of the majority of the residents who live in the Hawthorne Road neighborhood. And the intention was to try to find the right planning strategy that would prioritize what was important, or what we heard what was important to residents. And those things were the sustainability of the drinking water in the area, public safety, especially related to wildfire risk, pedestrian safety, and to ensure continued compatible development in the area, consistent with the semi-rural character and current limited infrastructure that the area has, such as narrow road widths and lack of town water. And the intention since the beginning has always been to work together with the town and council to find a reasonable balance and practical outcome that achieves those priorities, seeking progress over perfection with a long-term sustainable view. And after over 1 year of collaboration and various opportunities for public engagement and feedback, as Emily spoke to already, it was determined thus far that changing the zoning in the area to residential unserviced seemed to be the most balanced, reasonable approach that addressed those priorities that were brought forward by residents, while also recognizing an approach that minimizes the cost, administrative burden on the town, and respects the work already done on the land use planning effort that had just been formalized. The residential and service zone is the closest zoning option to my understanding of what was previously in place in the area for almost 15 years. And virtually all the surrounding area is already conservation, institutional, or residential and service, including the end of Fairmont Street, which was recently changed to residential and service as well. And once again, thanks again for council, everyone who made it here this evening instead of being outside or at Mug and Anchor. So it's not, the hard choice to make. So just wanted to say again, thank you to Emily and Garth for all of their patience and input, to the town staff and council again throughout the whole process. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Who would like to speak then?
So,
Oh, okay. Great.
my name is Glenn Woodford, and I own 15 lots on this street, so by far and away, I'm more affected than anybody here. Particularly given that these lots are not developed yet, so the lots that are developed, the way you're passing this bylaw, most of the houses there, we couldn't build them today as they are, which is not in keeping or within the intent of the bylaw change, or the zoning change rather. So I have no problem with the intent. The intent is to prevent multi-residential units there for many reasons, to keep the character, preservation of the water available, more units up there, you take more water on the ground. So far, we've only developed R1 houses. That's all we want to do with the 15 lots left. And we don't even allow R2, even though the bylaw currently allows multis, R2s, R4s, whatever. Our covenants are R1, and we're not gonna waver from that. The issue I have with the way this is being done is, rather than writing a new zone, which is really needs a new zone, you're just saying, well, let's just call it rural residential. And it allows these uses, and the uses match with the intent, but the setbacks in the areas do not. So as soon as you change the zoning, many of the houses up there are gonna be non-conforming. They don't conform with the regulations of the bylaw. And this particular subdivision that we did in 2022, I believe, is pretty recent, followed all the rules and made the lots a certain size based on what the side yard setbacks were, front yard setbacks. And now the effect is on a bunch of lots. The lots are 70 feet wide. We need a 12-foot setbacks. And so we could only do a 67-foot or a 47-foot house where we could have done a 50-foot house. So you're taking away 100, if you're say 40 feet deep, you take away 120 square feet. So the affected people, the most affected people are gonna be the 15 new families that don't live there yet, are gonna have 120 square feet less that they could build. And so what I would like to see happen is just move forward to change the zoning, because I'm totally in agreement with planning processes where the public comes forward and they have a concern, they want the local government to address that concern and change the zoning to address the concern they have, which is higher density, but not change it so that it takes away the amount of or adds to the setbacks compared to what was already built. So it sort of burdens these lots more than the lots that were already built. And these, I can't change the lot lines now because there's a house here and there's a house here. Maybe there's a few I could juggle, but not many. There's already houses there. Some lots have sales and they plan on doing something. There's a building permit on one of the 15 sort of in the process. So anyway, it's I'm not 100% familiar with the planning process, and I understand that I'm a little late coming. And I apologize for that, may have missed something early on. But my request is that you go ahead and make a zoning change, but preserve the setbacks as they are today, as they were for the character that someone spoke. They want to keep the character. Well, if they want to keep the character, keep the setbacks what they are, front yard, backyard, side yard. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Well, we will wait for, how long do we have to wait? 15 minutes?
Well, technically, the whole thing has to run 15 minutes, and it has. So maybe you just want to ask 3 times. You asked once,
Okay.
maybe that's much more.
All right. Would anyone like to speak? Would anyone like to speak? I feel like I'm at a nomination meeting.
Oh, not for the last question.
Oh, we're not to respond. That's,
Okay, we can close out the hearing, and then you could just ask the question informally if you'd like. That's okay.
okay. Being that, okay, being that there are no more comments or public input, I will call for an adjournment of this meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, then we will close the meeting and you may ask your question.